ready? Today is June the 9th of 2020, and this is our regularly scheduled monthly meeting of the Alabama Public Service Commission. For the record, the public was notified of today's meeting by notice that was dated April 28th of 2020. I'd just like to say welcome. You all look fantastic today. It is so nice to see all of you here today. We've had two commission meetings now with an empty room, and that's really hard for a people person like myself. I love seeing you all here today. So thank you. Love seeing even the mask on. Love seeing all of you, and thank you for taking your time to join us. And the socially safe distancing is working this morning. I think everyone got in that wanted to come in, and I really do appreciate you all taking time to be here. In attendance today to my right is Commissioner Jeremy H. Bowden. He is on place 1 of the commission. To my left is Commissioner Chris Chip Beaker Jr., and he is in place 2. I am the president of the commission, Cecil Andrews Kavanaugh. Below, to your right and my left is our executive director and administrative law judge, chief administrative law judge, John Garner. And below, on my right and your left, I believe I got that right, is the secretary of the commission, Mr. Walter Thomas. And as is customary, each month one commissioner gets to bring in a very special guest to offer our prayer and our pledge. However, with the current situation, we did not want to bring in another individual into the commission hearing room. So this month is Commissioner Oden's month, but I think he's going to offer the prayer and the pledge and probably a few, I'll call them brief comments, but I know Commissioner Oden. Go ahead.
Let me just make some brief comments. One of the first warnings one of my bosses said to me was, "You never let a politician and a preacher have a microphone." And I will say that on the opening statement, but we do want to pause and say, 4 years ago today, if you've seen my Facebook page, my daughter got to pray here, and I'm telling you, 4 years makes a difference in her life, and she's now a young lady, and I look back and I see that young child doing that, but it is, and I want to do this. I know we've heard this from Scripture many times, and I think that it is, again, that we must, focus in on where we are at in our nation. And simply 2 Chronicles 7:14, we all know that passage, we've heard it, and it just says simply, "If my people humble themselves and pray and seek my face, I will hear and I will heal their land." And so we want to have that attitude, I think, as we go before our God this morning. So will you pray with me? God, we do just humbly come before you. And we recognize, Lord, your power, your omnipotence. Father God, knowing that if we pray to you and put it in your hands, that you will take it and you will heal, you will understand, and all the things, Father God, that you can do for us as your children. And Lord, we do just pause and we lift up our country, we lift up our world, we lift up our state, God, in these times. And we recognize, Father, you are the mender, you are the creator, and you, Father, with your hands can work, and we pray, God, for that. Pray, Lord, for your hands to be upon all of us. Be upon the nations as we look at things in which we've done. And God, we come to you and we pray, God, for your peace. Your peace, Lord, just to overwhelm us. And Lord, we ask that you just show your love and how we can show your love just abundantly, Father. We offer that. And God, we just pray for clarity. We pray for understanding. And we pray for these things in our lives. We pray for our nation's life. And we pray for our state's life. But we come and we humbly bring ourselves to you. And we ask, God, that if we've done something, We ask, God, that if we've moved something, we ask for your forgiveness and allow us, Father God, to love and share that love that you have and just bless us with that. We ask for the healing, Lord. We ask for many things, and we know, Father God, that you are available and you can deliver. And we thank you, Lord, for doing that with us. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Oden. And before I give Commissioner Beaker the floor for his personal point of privilege, I just thought I would say that this is our June meeting, and before we gather back together for our meeting in July, our country will celebrate its Independence Day. I hope that by July 4th, we will have all come together as a country and can celebrate as Americans. Please join me in praying that we can listen. Please join me in praying that we can listen to one another and try to understand each other and once again become one nation under God. And as our pledge says, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Well said, both of you. Thanks for coming. Maybe we're on the downside of this. Several doctors are saying so. It is what it is, and hopefully we learn from it.
Thank you, Commissioner. You are so right. I hope we are on the downside on the virus. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. With there being no old business to bring before the Commission, today we will begin the new business of our Public Service Commission reports. And due to the unusual circumstances, and I think most of you that are here today have been at our regular meetings, and we have all of our staff here to give the monthly reports, but because of the unusual circumstances and the social distancing, we wanted to make sure there was room here for everyone that wanted to attend, so we didn't bring our staff in this morning. We have a very small group of our staff here, and Judge John Garner will provide the reports for each division except for our Electricity Policy Division, and John Free will be the only one from that division, our director from that division here today. So, Judge, if we can start off with the Utility Services Division report.
Thank you, Madam President. I will provide the report for the Utility Services Division for this month. I'll first address the Consumer Services electric and gas inquiries for the month of May. I would note that there were 23 residential inquiries and 1 business inquiry. That number is actually 23% lower than for the same period in 2019. And just generally also addressing the telecom inquiries for May, I would note that there was actually a 31% increase from May of last year for those inquiries. But most of that change is driven by a 67% increase in internet service complaints, which is a service that we don't regulate. So try to help folks that we don't regulate that service. And there was also a 22% increase in inquiries applicable to telecom companies. And as you know, there are some limitations on what we can do there. We simply refer those inquiries to the providers pursuant to the Communications Reform Act. So that was done with regard to those complaints. I will now move to the gas agenda and the monthly report on gas utilities regulated under the RSC. Under dockets 18046 and 18328, you have the division report on rate RSC for Spire, Alabama, INC, as of April 30th, 2020, which is, by the way, a current test. Based on preliminary figures as of April 30th, 2020, the projected RSC return on average common equity for the rate year ending September 30th, 2020 for Spire, Alabama was 10.18%. That is within the authorized range and therefore results in no adjustment to rates. The authorized return range on average common equity for Spire, Alabama is 10.15 to 10.65%. Next, you have under docket 28101, the division report on rate RSC for Spire Gulf INC as of April 30th, 2020, which is again a point of test. Based on preliminary figures as of April 30th, 2020, the projected RSC return on average common equity for the rate year ending September 30th, 2020 for Spire Gulf was 10.66%. That is within the authorized range and will result in no adjustment to rates. The authorized return range on average common equity for Spire Gulf is 10.45 to 10.95%. Next, under docket U5335, we have the application of Spire, Alabama INC for approval of a base contract for the sale and purchase of natural gas with NextEra Energy Marketing LLC. This contract expands the potential resources of natural gas suppliers that Spire may use to acquire natural gas at the lowest price for its customers. So the recommendation on that request is approval.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Next, move to the water agenda, where there is one item for your consideration, and that is under docket 22671. This is a proposed increase for Tishomingo County Water District of Iuka, Mississippi, for the 87 customers they serve in extreme western Colbert County, Alabama. Tishomingo is organized as an unregulated tax-exempt nonprofit public water utility in Mississippi. Water districts like that are also unregulated in Alabama, but because Tishomingo is not a creation of the Alabama legislature or Alabama statutes, the service they provide in Alabama is subject to our jurisdiction. They purchase their water for their customers from the city of Iuka, Mississippi, and the city recently increased the price that charges Tishomingo by 50 cents per thousand gallons. And so the proposed rate change is a direct pass-through to Tishomingo customers in both Mississippi and Alabama of the increased charge that they are incurring for their water. The Mississippi customers of Tishomingo are already paying a higher rate. So the recommendation is for approval of the increase requested.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Elder?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
I'll now move to the telecommunications agenda. There are 2 proposed resale interconnection agreements and 3 proposed wholesale access tariff changes. Those are non-controversial, and I'll present those under a single recommendation and a vote. Under amended resale agreements, first you have docket U4963. It's Bullseye Telecom INC and CenturyTel of Alabama LLC, DBA CenturyLink, and Gulf Telephone Company, DBA CenturyLink. Under docket U5076, you have the amended resale agreement, CenturyTel of Alabama LLC, DBA CenturyLink, and Gulf Telephone Company, DBA CenturyLink, and SpectraTel of Alabama LLC, DBA Touch-Based Communications. As far as miscellaneous items, under docket U5336, you have Gulf Telephone Company LLC, DBA CenturyLink, seeking to grandfather various obsolete low bandwidth private line services in the access tariff. Under docket U5337, you have CenturyTel of Southern Alabama seeking to grandfather various obsolete low bandwidth private line services in the access services tariff. And on the next page, under docket U5338, you have CenturyTel of Northern Alabama seeking to grandfather various obsolete low bandwidth private line services in the access services tariff. The recommendation for all those items just presented is approval.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Elder?
Yes.
Commissioner Bieber?
Yes.
The last item on the agenda under summary of other filings is docket D7641. That item should actually be stricken from the agenda. Subsequent to the submission of the agenda, ACN contacted the staff and asked to withdraw the filing, and they will refile that at a later date. And then unless you have questions, that concludes the presentation of the Utility Services Division for the month of June.
Since we're talking about our Utility Services Division, I just wanted to say, even though he's not here, a thank you to Darrell Baker. through the entire time that state employees were supposed to be at home. His wife said that she couldn't keep him at home. Thank goodness, he had plenty of space that he could come in and spread out here in the building, but Darryl Baker and Mr. Baker did a fantastic job, and everything from answering phones to working on people's consumer complaints, and just did an excellent job, and I just wanted to publicly say thank you.
All right, Madam President, with your permission, I will move on to the presentation of the Gas Pipeline Safety Division report for April. That report reflects that there were a total of 26 inspections performed by the GPS Division during the month of April. There was one non-compliance item that was corrected during the month. With respect to incidents and accidents, there were 3 state reportable incidents which transpired during the month. On April 3rd, Spire Montgomery had a plastic distribution main damaged by an excavator who failed to use the proper clearance and tolerance zone and struck the pipe with a track bucket. On April 10th, 2020, Spire Gulf in the Mount Vernon area experienced a sulfur buildup in a regulator that resulted in an outage for 197 customers. And then on April 21st, 2020, Onion Utilities experienced a rail break on a steel main that was likely attributable to heavy rains and repeated exposure to heavy equipment. With regard to miscellaneous matters, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the DPS investigators continued their remote inspections from their homes during the month of April. They utilized Skype and other means of communication to conduct the inspections they could on records only. The 16 standard inspections performed during April consisted of those type inspections. There was no field work conducted during April due to the pandemic. There were, however, some construction inspections that occurred during that time because they could be done safely. I would note that field work is now resuming with the proper precautions being adhered to by the GPS staff. The annual Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration audit was conducted electronically during the month of April. Mr. Glenn Blanton, State Liaison for PHMSA, and Mr. Wallace Jones, our Gas Pipeline Safety Director. They conducted the office and records portion of that audit using Skype and Microsoft Teams platforms. The field inspections portion of the audit with the investigators present will be conducted later in the year after the corona travel ban has been lifted. Speaking of those bans, they've led to some changes in the communications between PHMSA and the National Association of Pipeline Safety Representatives, or NAPSR. Instead of in-person meetings, they have weekly Microsoft Teams meetings with the personnel. There's been good participation in those calls, and Mr. Jones has actually spearheaded those efforts and set those calls up, and they continue to transpire. The NAPSR regions are also conducting monthly Microsoft Teams calls to discuss ideas on how to deal with coronavirus issues, which allows the states to provide each other assistance on how to deal with some of the issues that have been encountered. Unless you have questions, this concludes the report for the Gas Pipeline Safety Division. I'll now move to the monthly report for the Utility Enforcement Division. This report, of course, reflects the activities of that division for the month of April. The report is very thorough, so I'll just hit the high points with your permission. With regard to the railway safety section, 3 rail carriers were visited during the month of April, and 12 regular track inspections were performed. 11 roadway worker, bridge worker, and safe practice observations were also made during the month of April. The railway safety section's motive power and equipment inspector also visited 3 rail carriers and performed 6 regular inspections. There were 444 units that were inspected on those visits during April. There were also 2 inspections of 6 mechanical records performed. The railway safety staff investigated a bridge strike accident where a trash truck with a knuckle boom struck a railroad bridge along a strategic rail corridor network. Thankfully, it was ultimately determined that the bridge suffered only superficial and cosmetic damage, and the route was subsequently reopened to train traffic shortly thereafter. There were also 3 separate incidents reported through the National Response Center to the FRA and then relayed to our staff. None of those required our involvement, however. And then the staff during the month also participated in the monthly conference calls for their respective disciplines. As far as the motor carrier services section, there were 2 new authorities approved during April, with some 80 motor carrier authority inquiries being processed. During April, the motor carrier services staff received and processed some 445 insurance filings and responded to 238 insurance inquiries. This section also addressed some 27 UCR applications that were submitted and responded to 93 UCR inquiries. Just a kind of an update on UCR, as of April 30th, there were 5,383 Alabama carriers, with 59% of our carriers registered for 2020 UCR, with 3,724 that still need to register. The motor carrier services staff also assisted some 20 new motor carriers in making necessary changes to their operating status with the FMCSA during the month of April. There was also participation in the UCR Board of Directors teleconference call held on April 23rd. Some of the major things that came out of that call was ratification of the July 1, 2020 enforcement date for 2020 UCR registration. It was also reported that 55% of the funds due have been collected nationally for the 2020 UCR registration year. Also, the 2019 UCR audit deadline has been extended through July 1, 2020 due to COVID-19. In other matters of note, on April 3rd, the staff held a teleconference with Razor LLC or Uber representatives to discuss the upcoming annual record inspection and Uber's response to COVID-19. With respect to the field services section, all of the previously planned on-site utility infrastructure inspections could not be scheduled and executed due to the onset of the coronavirus pandemic. However, training opportunities were taken advantage of during that time, and many of the available regulatory webcasts hosted by EPA, NARUC, and other federal agencies were taken advantage of for training purposes. Unless you have any questions, that concludes your report of the utility enforcement.
Thank you. And next, we have up for our electricity policy division report, Mr. John Free, the division director.
Good morning, Commissioner. You have before you the Electricity Policy Division's agenda dated June 2nd, 2020. The only item I have this morning is the division's normal monthly report, home rates, RFC, and ECR for Alabama Power Company. They are under dockets 18117, 18416, and 18148. For rate RFC, the staff performed a normal monthly examination of the books and records of Alabama Power Company and determined the projected weighted return on average retail common equities of 6.18% for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2020. This return, of course, is based on 4 months of actual data for the January through April period and 8 months of budget data for the remainder of the year, May through December. For rate ECR, the staff performed a regular monthly review of Alabama Power's energy costs for the month of April 2020 and determined an over-recovery of approximately $14.8 million. So that concludes our report, and pending any questions that you may have, that's it.
Thank you, appreciate it. And I think this would be an appropriate time for me just to say that on behalf of the commission, we want to thank our staff in the electricity division. You've done a fantastic job along with your staff in what I would say have been very difficult circumstances with the social distancing, but you've done great work and worked long hours evaluating all of our testimony for these filings, and I just want to thank you, and I want you to pass it along to your staff that they've done a fantastic job, and we appreciate you. Appreciate you being there to answer all our questions and go through everything with all of us. So thank you very much.
We definitely will pass that along. I couldn't do it without the staff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that is probably a good segue. Another way I would concur in your sentiment regarding Mr. Pruitt and his staff, and as it relates to the docket I'm about to present.
And Judge, before you present that, if I could just also add to it, I just wanted to thank Mr. Free and his staff while he was sitting at the table, but I'd also like to thank everyone that participated in the process. Without the hearings held March 9th through 11th and a very full review of the process and input from all interested parties, we would not have been able to adequately do our jobs. And so to everyone that participated, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it, and as a commission, I know we all appreciate it.
All right, and of course, we're talking about docket 32953, which is actually the last item on the legal division agenda, but I'm going to go ahead and move it up for consideration at the front of the agenda and deal with the other items later, because obviously this is the most important item on the agenda. Just by way of background, on September 6, 2019, Alabama Power Company, Alabama Power Company, filed a petition requesting the issuance of a certificate of convenience and necessity for, one, the construction of a new combined cycle unit at the site of its Berry steam plant, and after Berry Unit 8. Two, the acquisition of the Central Alabama Generating Station, here and after Central Alabama. A power purchase agreement, or PPA, for the output of the Hog Bayou Energy Center, here and after Hog Bayou, which is a combined cycle unit in Mobile County. 5 PPAs for the output of solar, photovoltaic, and energy storage facilities at various locations. And 5, the authority to pursue up to 200 megawatts of demand-side management and distributed energy resource programs. Together, the proposed resources comprise approximately 2,400 megawatts of new capacity. Along with this petition, the company pre-filed extensive direct testimony from 5 witnesses in support of its request. The pending petition was then duly noticed to the public by the Commission on September 9, 2019. The Commission received petitions to intervene from a number of parties, including the Office of the Attorney General of Alabama, here and after the Attorney General, the Alabama Solar Industry Association, here in ASIA, Alabama Industrial Energy Consumers, here and after AIEC, the Alabama Coal Association, here and after ACA, American Senior Alliance, EnergyFairness.org, the Southern Renewable Energy Association, here and after SREA, Manufacture Alabama, Sierra Club, and Energy Alabama and GAS, jointly Energy Alabama Gas. All the petitions to intervene were granted with the exception of the petition of SREA. That petition was denied due to SREA's failure to identify any of its members with a direct interest in proceeding pursuant to Alabama law. Following numerous extensions, the petition of Alabama Power was ultimately set for hearing beginning on March 9, 2020. Leading up to the hearing, extensive discovery was engaged in by the parties of record. This included multiple depositions and numerous interrogatories. The intervenors Manufacture Alabama, AIEC, and ASIA each submitted the testimony of one witness in response to the direct testimony of Alabama Power. The intervenor Sierra Club submitted testimony from 8 witnesses in response to Alabama Power's direct testimony. The intervenors Energy Alabama and Gas jointly submitted responsive testimony from 3 witnesses. Alabama Power then submitted rebuttal testimony from its 5 original witnesses plus 2 additional witnesses. On March 4th, 2020, Sierra Club moved for the entry of an order denying Alabama Power's petition at the conclusion of the public hearing. In its motion, Sierra Club argued that Alabama Power failed to carry its burden of proof under Alabama Code Section 37-4-28 demonstrating that its proposed capacity additions are necessary, and that the proposed expansion is the least cost option for meeting its customers' needs. The public hearing on Alabama Power's petition was held in the Commission's main hearing room here in Montgomery from March 9th, 2020 through March 11th, 2020. Each party presented witnesses who had pre-filed testimony for extensive cross-examination. At the outset of the hearing on March 9th, 2020, Sierra Club's March 4th motion to deny Alabama Power's petition was argued. Consistent with the stated expectation of counsel for Sierra Club, the motion was taken under advisement for a final ruling following the conclusion of the hearing. At the conclusion of the hearing, the parties were directed to submit their post-hearing briefs in the form of proposed orders. Alabama Power, Sierra Club, Energy Alabama and Gas, the Alabama Solar Industry Association, and the Alabama Industrial Energy Consumers each submitted post-hearing briefs in the form of proposed orders. The Attorney General of Alabama submitted a response to Alabama Power Company's petition. Now turning to the joint recommendation of the Legal Division and the Electricity Policy Division, I would note that after extensive review of all the pre-filed testimony, the discovery produced by the parties, the transcript of the hearing, and post-hearing briefs in the form of proposed orders, the staff has determined that Alabama Power has demonstrated a need for additional capacity and presented evidence demonstrating that certain resources proposed by the company represent a reasonable means by which the company can meet this need in a reliable and economic manner. Accordingly, the staff recommends the issuance of a certificate of convenience and necessity for 1, the construction of a new combined cycle unit at the site of Alabama Power Company's Berry Steam Plant, Berry Unit 8, the acquisition of the Central Alabama Generating Station located in Autauga County, the power purchase agreement for the output of the Hog Bayou Energy Center located in Mobile County, and the authority to pursue up to 200 megawatts of demand-side management and distributed energy resource programs. The staff further recommends that the cost of Berry Unit 8, subject to CMP Part A and or Part C and rate RSE, shall be capped at no more than 5% above the proposed contract price, which equates to the estimated in-service cost of the total project. Understanding, however, that unforeseen issues can arise with any project of the magnitude of Berry 8, the company may, if necessary, submit documentation of the Berry 8 project cost above the 5% cap for review by the staff and seek authorization from the Commission to go above the 5% cap if it is determined that the circumstances presented justify such additional costs as prudently incurred, as is the customary legal standard for such situations. The staff further recommends that the solar with battery energy storage system projects proposed in this docket be evaluated under docket 32382 and the criteria set forth in that docket. Based on the foregoing recommendations, it is also recommended that the motion of Sierra Club to deny Alabama Power's petition be denied. Now turning to some of the background staff relied upon in arriving at the recommendations that I just disclosed. It was the staff's opinion that the primary consideration in the certificate of need proceeding was reliability. The natural gas-fired combined cycle units recommended for approval meet this reliability predicate in that they are consistent and considered reliable and dispatchable for all hours of the year. In addition, combined cycle units are very flexible. They have a wide range of operating levels or capacity factor value and have ramping capabilities that are allowed for load following and support of intermittent renewable energy. The combined cycle units also provide additional flexibility regarding fleet management and maintenance schedules. With the combined cycle units in service by the 2023-2024 timeframe, they will also provide the necessary lead time for Alabama Power to make decisions regarding the potential for future unit retirements. Accordingly, the staff's recommendation reflects the fact that the company's need for base load and intermediate type capacity can best be met with the proposed combined cycle units. As it relates to the 5 solar projects paired with batteries, these projects represent more of a critical peaking capacity which can be met with existing peaking resources, plus expansion of demand-side options or DSOs. Staff ultimately determined that the reliability and dispatchability of the proposed solar with battery projects were very limited by nature due to the 2-hour batteries proposed. More specifically, it was determined that the solar projects proposed would at best have limited dispatchability during the winter when coupled with the 2-hour batteries. Also, the lack of operational experience with battery storage systems on the southern system further compounded the risk of such systems for reliability purposes in the staff's opinion. The staff was also concerned with some of the contractual terms included in the PPAs associated with solar battery projects. Even so, the staff does recognize that utility-scale solar systems have the potential to provide energy cost savings to customers as well as generation diversity. That is why the staff recommended that those proposals be evaluated under docket 32382, which is the renewable generation certificate proceeding established by commission order. For the winter critical peak period, the staff recommends that Alabama Power should continue its long-standing focus on expanding its industrial, non-firm interruptible program. At the same time, the company should consider enhancing the application with a reliability-based or an economics-based of its industrial interruptible program, while also improving the promotion and participation in residential DSOs, such as direct load control and critical peak pricing. The company should also consider the development of new DSO programs associated with smart thermostats, hot water heaters, and energy-efficient heat pumps. Commissioners, this concludes the staff's recommendation in this docket. I would again like to thank Mr. Free and his staff for their extensive efforts in this matter. Their insights were critical to the assessment of all the evidence in this case, particularly the many technical issues that had to be considered in great detail. We would not be here today without the efforts of Mr. Free and his staff. We are available to answer any questions you have at this time, but I think we've concisely stated the staff's recommendation in this document.
So moved.
Second. Madam President, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make a few clarifying points if I can, Judge, and possibly ask Director Free a couple of questions with that. We want to make, first, let me say thanks to the staff. I agree with the President. Y'all have put months into this and looked at it, and I've seen the diagrams, I've seen all the studies that you had to go through, and so let me first thank you, Director Free, and all of your staff for what you have done. I know that it's a challenging process to go through, and then we speculate and see, and then we pull in another figure and speculate and see, and then, you know, so I know all of that. So thank you for your staff, and thank you, Judge, for what all y'all had to get going through it. I just want to make sure that we clearly present what we did as far as that last sentence in the recommendation on the solar systems and the battery storage parts. Fully understand that we're talking about a public convenience and necessity with this order. And in that other order, which is 32382, I think, we'll reference it that way. I guess I like calling it the solar order. First, I don't remember numbers too well. But those two, if we look at those, then that order in itself opens up for the expansion of solar underneath that 500 megawatts. Can you tell me how much of that actually has been used prior to in that order?
Sure, I will. As you recall, that docket took the name of the Renewable Generation Certificate.
Yeah.
And it was under 32382, and it was approved back in September of 2015, with the first RFP to be issued in 2016 and every other year after that. And so there will be the third RFP issued this year. The criteria under that docket was for renewable energy that met economic conditions. Okay, so it's more of an economics-based test rather than a reliability-based test. And coming to our conclusions that Judge Garner enumerated, we felt like they fitted better with the economics-based test than with the reliability-based test.
Mm-hmm.
And so there still are opportunities for those projects or others to be submitted under 32382 and be considered for their energy cost savings and other benefits they might bring along. There is opportunities for the commission to consider extending that docket or enhancing that docket, or making whatever changes you choose to make, but that's, solely within your purview, and I'm just throwing that out there for consideration.
Thank you, and that's some of the points I want to make, is there's a docket out there to handle some of this, and appropriately, I think we've looked at that, and your recommendation of putting that in that document is a full understanding of where that needs to be as far as we're looking at it as a commission, in that economic stance instead of underneath the necessity. So I wanted to say a little bit about that and make sure that that is clear in that process, and that docket is still available for the company to use in that in that look of whether they want to do the solar and stuff. And that's the RFP process.
Well, yes, sir, and also in that docket and in that order, it says that the projects don't necessarily have to come from an RFP. They can come from unsolicited offers. I believe you had asked, what had been approved under that docket, and I would say that we approved the 2 military installations first at Fort Rucker, which was about 10 megawatts, and Anniston Depot, which was about 7 megawatts, and then afterwards we approved the Lafayette solar facility, which was around 72 megawatts. And so overall, blanket approval under that original order was 500 megawatts. And so there's still approximately 400 megawatts available under that proceeding. But that's not to say projects don't have to come under that proceeding. They can come under any petition or filing or whatever. They're not limited just to that proceeding.
Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure we're clear of in coming from this order that we're presenting today, and make sure that that is understood as far as the public is concerned about the proceedings on that, and how that may necessarily look at our reflection of what we're making the order on today, which is the public necessity part of it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure that's clear. And I do want to say this, I'm amazed, we still have 400 megawatts available in that docket, and it's not been taken advantage of. So I just want to make sure we understand where we're at in that, and that the public understand that we have to look at it in the terms in which your staff looked at it underneath necessity, and whether that fits in this groove or whether it fits in the other groove, and just to make sure we understand that other groove is actually the better fit for that latter portion.
It is a better fit, being, in my opinion, that the combined cycle units and the ones we recommend today are more of a reliability fit, whereas solar systems are probably more of a renewable energy fit. And you mentioned that, there's 400 megawatts still left, and, since we approved that docket, there have been some changes in projected fuel costs, and which reflects your avoided costs, which is one of the thresholds to meet the economics test. And so, you probably have to bring in not only that aspect, but maybe some others to pass the criteria under that docket.
Right. One of the things, and I'll end on this, Madam President, and thank you for giving me this time to do a little spill, but I am so proud of the state of Alabama and some of the progress of technology they have done, and one of those is in the battery world, and I think we have the Battery Test Center located here in Alabama, and the nation used that multiple times, and they're currently doing multiple studies there now for that. And I know that we look at the batteries and where it's coming, and it's really a new technology for the utility grid and how it's going to assimilate into that grid. But yet we are one of the few states that have really doing a study on it. I want to commend them for that in this process. But again, thank you and the judge and all of the PSC staff that work in these difficult times to understand, and all the graphs. It was amazing to me of how many graphs and projected graphs you had to look at. So my eyes would start bugging. So thank you very much and appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get a better understanding of where we're at. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, and we now have a recommendation from the staff, a first and a second. Is that correct? If you'll go ahead and call.
Okay, Commissioner Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Commissioner Oden,
Yes.
Commissioner Bieber.
Yes.
And let me note, Madam President, that while a vote just transpired, the official conclusion of this docket will occur when the commission enters a final order implementing the vote that just happened. So the matter will still be considered an open docket until that final order is entered, so we will need to take appropriate cautions about delving too far into the merits of the case until that order is entered. So I just want to kind of make everyone aware of that caution that we will need to adhere to. But we hope to get you in order fairly quickly, but it is very detailed, so we will take the proper precautions and try to get everything squared away in the order, so that may take a little while, I would say. Lastly, I need to cover the rest of the items on the legal division agenda with your permission, and then I also have some administrative items that I'll present. If you will turn to the legal division agenda dated June 5th, I'll start at the beginning of that agenda. The first item that I'll present, and I believe that all of these items are non-controversial. So I will go through to the end of the second page there, the last item being docket 32255, and present all of those items for a single vote. The first item, as I said, is under docket C 19664. It's the petition of B&B Farms and Equipment INC of Grand Bay, Alabama, for reinstatement of Medicare certificate F2535, which was revoked due to the petitioner's failure to maintain proper proof of liability and insurance coverage. Those issues have been rectified. The recommendation is for a grant reinstatement. The next item is under dockets 25775 and C 19704. This concerns the petition of Birmingham Door LLC of Pell City, Alabama, for cancellation of Medicare certificate 3669 under docket 25775. That certificate was revoked by commission order entered on April 14th, 2020, due to the petitioner's failure to maintain proper proof of liability and insurance coverage in informal docket C 19704. So the recommendation is for reinstatement of certificate 3669 for the sole purpose of canceling that certificate in good standing. So the recommendation is for approval of those transactions. Next, we have docket 33016. It's the application of Here to There LLC of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, for a certificate to transport household goods. Everything is in order with that application. So the recommendations for the grant of a certificate and approval of the tariff submitted. Moving to the next page, we have docket C 19683, the petition of Metarides Transportation LLC of Tallahassee, Alabama, for reinstatement of Medicare certificate 4060, which was revoked due to petitioner's failure to maintain proper proof of liability and insurance coverage. I recommend grant and reinstatement of that certificate as requested. The next item is under docket C 19690. It's the petition of Gannon Enterprises INC, DBA Valley Moving of Birmingham, Alabama, for reinstatement of Medicare certificates 3999 and F4570, which were both due to petitioner's failure to maintain proper proof of liability and insurance coverage. Those problems have been rectified, so the recommendation is for a grant and reinstatement. Next, we have docket C-19656. It's a petition of Todd Mallett, DBA Mallett Trucking of Brookwood, Alabama, for reinstatement of Medicare certificate F3498, which was revoked due to petitioner's failure to maintain proper proof of liability and cargo insurance coverage. Those issues have been rectified, so the recommendation is for a grant and reinstatement. And lastly, we have docket 32255, which is the petition of Countrywide Express INC of Plantersville, Alabama, for cancellation of Medicare certificate F4837. The recommendation is for a grant of the cancellation requested.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Elton?
Yes.
Commissioner Eva?
Yes.
And lastly, I have the list of administrative items that was circulated yesterday. I recommend approval of all those items.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Elton?
Yes.
Commissioner Eva?
Yes.
And I'm fully aware that you're probably tired of hearing from me, and you'd be glad to know that's all I have to present.
If you'll hold just a minute. Judge, do you have our next meeting? The date of our next meeting?
Mr. Secretary, I believe
June the 7th?
7th.
That's what I thought. All right, well, with there being no other business to bring before the commission, let me remind you that our next meeting is June the 7th of 2020, July 7th of 2020. Boy, time's flying. And I pray that you and your family are having a wonderful summer. Stay safe, and please come back to our July 7th meeting. And at this time, I'd like to remind you to turn your phones back on so you don't miss a phone call. And with that,